here. Larry, Rashad Fenton, and Daryl Williams. Dorian O'Daniel is back at practice today, though. All right.
Yeah, back at it.
All right, guys, fire away. Coach, you spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks taking a look at what you had at returner. Do you anticipate doing the same thing for the preseason finale?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. The good thing is that we have a lot of guys to choose from, and we can really get a good look at guys, and we've been getting a lot of returns, so it's been good for us.
Marcus Robinson is a punt returner. What are your thoughts on him?
He drives me nuts a little bit. He really does. To be honest, he knows it. I like to see him catch it and keep the ball tight to his body. He doesn't do that. Like to see him get north and south. He doesn't do that. So those are things that we talked about all the time. He's a great make you miss guy. There's probably nobody better, but he's got to learn to get up the field. He's a good catcher. So in an emergency situation, you could use him. As a guy that can get you through a game. But as an every down guy, he's got a ways to go.
Same ballpark is kind of the same question at least with Mike Hughes.
Yeah, Mike is very, very good catcher. He's talented returner. He gets up the field north and south. He looks for that north and south right away. Whereas he could probably press the edges a little bit more. He's talented, and we like what we see in him going forward.
Two preseason games. Is there anybody that's sort of increased their value in the four phases?
I think Jody Fortson has. Jody's setting himself up well. Not really, no surprises, but I was just happy to see Jody, as hard as he worked in the offseason to be able to show it on the field, as a hold-up guy and, and blocker and cover guy, physical. It's good to see.
Coach, players that are trying to make the team, obviously special teams is probably going to be the way to go. Is there anyone that you could possibly tell us that's on the borderline that needs to have a good showing on Friday?
I think everybody needs to have a good showing. There's guys that you might think are easy ins right now. They're still fighting. I mean, it's not over. And that's the thing that I tell them. I say that the decision's not made until this last game is done. We get down to 53, so they got to keep fighting. Everybody. There's a lot of positions that are still open right now, and special teams will have something to do with it, but offense and defense mostly.
Are there individuals that you give advice to, like, hey, this is what I want to look for?
Oh, they know. I mean, it's clear. I'm a I tell you like it is guy. And they know exactly how they stand. They know what they need to do. They know that if they need to have a big game or not. There's no gray area with me, and I think it's good for the guys to know.
What did you see from Jared McKinnon, and what does it say about the willingness to do it, even as what is it,
he's I'm not sure how much special teams he's had in his past, but he's been playing great for us. I mean, if you know, like every week he does. The last two games, the first game he had the nice hit, as a PP, and then in the second game he had the nice block on the punt return, out in front of the returner. Boom, he got a knockdown on a big guy. He's not afraid to stick his head in there. He's not afraid to do the dirty work. Which is good to see with a veteran guy. You never know how he's going to react, and he's really taken the role, and accepted it, and he's doing everything he can.
So you're borderline guys. You talk about Marcus Kemp, the respond players like that.
Yeah.
What do you kind of tell them to make sure? Because I know you like Marcus Kemp and special teams. What do you try to tell them that they're doing well offensively too, but special teams is also.
Yeah, I mean Marcus Kemp, you don't need to say much to because he's a highly motivated, self-motivated guy. He goes hard all the time. A guy like Fountain, he's got to try to impress on everything he does. He's got to obviously show up on special teams a little bit more. I mean that'll help him. But he's done such a good job on offense. I'm not saying it's a shoot. Like he's one of those guys that's battling. He's a bubble guy, and that's those guys they're fighting for a spot. There's a lot of competition on this team. When you see us cutting great players like we have, I mean that just tells you that we have a lot of competition.
How is Congress doing with the holding duties?
Go, Holding's fine. He's fine with that. He set the bar high for himself in that first game, and we know what he can do. So if he the next game, if he doesn't hit 5-0 hang times, it's like he had a bad game. But he the punts that he hit, we only had 2 in that last game. He hit 2 fair catches, which is was only like a 38 or 39 net, which is what you're looking for. But he's got the ability to be even better, and we know that now. So we expect that out of him.
Dave, when you mentioned 34% on special teams, was that something in the offseason or at least early on in camp that he came to you and say, I really want to be?
It was actually last year. He actually came into my office. He did, and you could ask him about it. He came in my office. It was during the offseason. What do I need to do? And we just laid it out on for him, and he's that's why I'm so excited about him, because he's done it. He's got himself in the position, to be successful. No, not unusual at all. Guys come to me if they don't think they're not getting enough reps. They want to know why. It's and I shoot them straight. They understand. And it helps. I mean, communication is the key. You can't. They don't want to be. I don't think players should be surprised. When they get cut or released. Or make the team for that matter.
One of the things with him, though, is obviously this offseason he was going sort of a little bit of a body transformation, switching positions as well. So, at your spot, do you immediately know where you're going to put him, or do you kind of wait to see how that plays?
Yeah, he kind of we tried him at different spots. Like now he can play on for example, he used to be a slot like on punt, which is a kind of an intermediate type builds, the safety type. He's gotten so big now. I could play him at guard and tackle on punt team. And he can hold up in there against bigger guys. So that's a perfect example of how it changed for him.
Along those same lines, coach, he had told me previously during camp he had worked out with Delaney Walker to improve his blocking. How much of that are you seeing when you mentioned he can play interior and block?
Yeah, I mean, you probably have to ask, the tight ends coach Melvin Moore about that. But I watch him like every day on 9 and 7. I can see he's bringing the physicalness, and he's running through guys instead of just running 2 guys. He's starting to run through guys on traps and stuff. So that's all confidence, and he's building. You can see his confidence getting built every day.
Okay, thanks, coach.
All right, we'll see you.
See you later.
Morning. I had to check my watch, make sure I was saying morning and not afternoon. Yeah, before 12, yeah. Good to see everybody. We just got through our walkthrough, getting ready to go out to do a Thursday practice, and with that, I'll open it up.
Coach, you had 5 sacks in Friday's game. How good is this pass rush? This offensive unit?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's like I told the guys. I mean, let's not be deceived. They didn't have all their top guys in there. I'm glad that it happened. Hopefully it gives us a little bit of momentum going forward. But let's see what happens in this next game and all the games after that. They don't count, unfortunately, in the preseason games.
You were kind of curious going into the season, it seemed like how your cornerback situation was going to work out. Going into, I think it was minicamp.
Yeah.
How do you feel like it's playing out?
Well, I think Mike's done a nice job, and obviously you can see that we feel that way because he's been working with the first group a lot. I think DeAndre Baker is still kind of working through that injury. That was a tough one. But I think he's getting better. Bo Keys has shown some bright spots. Chris Lamons is doing a terrific job on special teams, and he shows up. It's good to have a bunch of guys to work with and pick from, but still got a little bit of ways, and then we'll figure it out, in the next week. That's a good question. Listen, I think he's been really effective there, and then rather than change 2 spots, change 1, but we'll see. I mean, a lot of that will be dictated by how we do going forward, and it might change week to week, just depending on who we're playing.
What did you not see from Taco?
Listen, those are hard decisions, first of all. Like when I texted him yesterday, because I didn't get a chance to see him in the morning. But I did text him to remember that he helped us win an AFC championship. And sometimes this happens in the league. But I think more than anything, I think some of the other guys jumped up and did a nice job. And I think what was good, I thought Brett made a good point. We give Taco a chance to maybe catch on with another team. So I wish him the best.
You talking about guys like Harris?
Well, I mean, you got the next group of guys there is you got Damone, you got Tim, you got Josh, right? You got a bunch of guys battling for positions. And we just thought it would be, if we knew we were going to go this direction, you'd have to ask Brett, but I think he felt like this would be help tackle a little bit.
What about Mike Bingham?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Mike, listen, I've talked about Mike a lot. I mean, you guys know how I feel about him, his intelligence, his natural ability. I think what Coach Daly and Terry Braden do with him is outstanding. I've just seen him. I mean, talking about a guy that was at Central Michigan, that went to Michigan for a year, 1 year, and he just keeps doing this. And if he can keep doing that, I think he's going to help us.
Steve, I want to ask you about Juan Thornhill. Heck of a play on the ball. That
Yeah.
interception. Is that needed for his confidence?
Absolutely. I think for any DBs. You guys see that in slow motion? I did. I pulled off the TV copy. That was really, sometimes, you'd have to ask DBs this, but sometimes, I don't want to say easy, but guys make that catch more than they do right? The one that takes a little bit of time to think about. I mean, he just reacted and snatched it right out of the air. I thought it was a great play. And I think I do think it'll help his confidence. I'm sorry? Nothing's changed, I mean, we're still working our way through where we're going to be with that. But, I mean, one play wouldn't change it. It was a hell of a play.
Going back to the beginning of training camp, Juan was actually here with the rookies and the quarterbacks.
Yep.
What was the long-term training camp plan for Thornhill coming in? Was it always just to get him as many repetitions as possible?
Yeah, if you remember, you missed all the OTA time. And Juan and I talked. I thought that set him back a little bit mentally. We have a few wrinkles here and there, and so while that's happening, other guys are out there performing, and you want to reward those guys. So we've got a few guys there. We got to figure out who, where, when, who starts, who doesn't, and that's what the training camp's for. We got one more game.
You mentioned tackling is something that you want to pay attention to in training camp. What have you seen since you games?
Yeah, it's been. I think it's been pretty good. I think there's always room for improvement there. We had less missed tackles this past game than we did the previous, so that's a good sign. But the thing I presented to the guys early on was no preseason games last year. We opened up against Houston. I think we had like 14 missed tackles. Whatever that number was, it was really high. And then it slowly went down. But we don't want to be like that in the first regular season game this year. We'd like to get it down now and be the best tackling unit we can be on the game one. That's what we're trying to do.
So we talked about it a couple of weeks ago about the iron sharpening between during the one-on-ones. With what you've seen, obviously they were able to display. I know you said that they didn't have the starters. That's not you all's fault.
Yeah.
But what you saw from that defensive line, I mean, what can they work on? What can they improve from what they did?
Yeah, I'll tell. Listen, I'm going to answer. This might be off the side. I'm not trying to avoid the question, but this is what I said to the guys, 2 days ago. And I thought that was what I was impressed most with was the unit play. And what I meant by that was I saw 11 guys on however many plays that was playing together. To me, that's how you can be an effective defense. So even though it showed up as sacks, there probably was something good being done on the back end. I thought guys were pretty mentally in tune. The mindset was right for a second preseason game, on an away game, the travel, the whole thing. So I think the whole unit, I just hope that continues. Because if we play good unit defensive football, we can be pretty good, in my opinion.
Coach, have you seen enough from Nick Bolton from game 1 to game 2? Has he progressed?
Yeah, he didn't get as many reps in this second game. That was probably because we had some guys healthy. We anticipate he'll get a good dose this coming game and keep him on that same trajectory that he's been on.
In that linebacker group, last year I think you only kept 4 starting the season, and it's a lot of the same faces with Nick in there.
Yeah.
How much has that experience helped, and how deeper do you feel like that unit is now?
Well, we lost Damian Wilson, so there's one reduced, and then so it feels like the same numbers, just a different body. So the depth is, it just depends on what package we're in, whether we have depth or don't have depth, right? And that's dictated by what offenses do. This offense is going to be in a lot of what we, the 2 tight ends and a fullback and the whole thing. So we're going to need, 3. And I'm glad that we're facing this kind of offense because a couple of weeks from now, we know what Cleveland likes to do with it. So we'll see how we do.
You talked about seeing how guys function between the whistle and the snap. That was one of your main things.
You remembered that? Yeah.
I
I thought they did a good job. I mean, it's been really good. It's worked out good. Arizona went no huddle, and the first game we played, I can't remember who played the first game. Yeah, San Francisco. They didn't do that. So it was good to get some no huddle. Operated really well except for one situation, but we needed that whistle to snap. Maybe we'll get some of that. I mean, in the preseason game, Minnesota ran one or two no huddles, not in a 2-minute deal. Hope they do it again.
Are you looking at more of your young guys, or is it just as a whole?
As a whole, I mean, when that happens to us, the guy that unwinds it all is Hitch and Tyron, and to have those. But then when the young guys get in there, I was interested to see how that was going to happen. I thought they functioned pretty good.
I'm not really asked much about it, but how is Joshua Kendall been looking so far?
Say it again.
How is Kendall been looking?
Oh, Kando, yeah, Josh, 59. I tell you, he got some natural ability. Got a ways to go. He's a young guy. For as big as he is, 6'5" or 6'6", whatever he is, they're all big to me, right? But he's a great knee bender. Like he can bend. Like if you watch him, for a big, tall guy, and hopefully that'll translate into some good football. I think Brendan and Terry are doing a great job with him too.
Understanding you've missed a little bit of time, just how or what tells you that maybe Willie Gay is ready for his expanded role potentially this year?
Yeah, a little bit of that's based on last year. He loves the game of football. Listen, that guy goes in there, the energy level goes like that. And he's done things. He's been working with Matt, and mentally, he's so far advanced from where he was a year ago. No OTAs. We already talked about that, right? And hopefully that'll have him hit the ground running in game one and not learning as he goes like he kind of did last year.
With everything that you're trying to add on to the defense this year, how many roles does a guy like Dan Sorensen have, going from the safety down to the linebacker, and how much of that is perhaps going to expand even this year?
Yeah, I don't know that people realize how tough that is in the course of the game. The first thing Dan has to remember is what package are we in? Like in between whistle to snap. Right. So I always make sure whoever's going in, go to Dan first. Tell him he's a linebacker now. Tell him he's a safety now. He does a great job with that. I don't, as far as expanding it, I'm not sure. I'd like to get some other guys involved, but we're sure glad we got him because he's like the Army Swiss knife for us in that regard. Good? All right, thanks.
All right. Good afternoon. How y'all doing? It's good seeing everyone. It's first of all, it's good to be back after taking 2 West Coast trips. Guys have played hard. They found a way to win games, and I think that the guys are starting to hit their stride. We're not quite perfect, but obviously this is what training camp is about, and we continue to work towards all the little things that we got to fix. But it feels good knowing that we will be lining up in Arrowhead Stadium and playing on our home field. So with that said, I'm all ears.
Eric, you obviously just talked about the benefit you guys are getting, especially with playing starters and Patrick Mahomes. We've seen some teams in the NFL not play their quarterbacks and stuff. Can you explain to us what benefit, especially with a new offensive line, that you guys are getting out of linebacker?
Well, I think it helps all of them. It helps Pat. It helps the O-line because they're still developing that chemistry. One thing that we always talk about is the importance of over-communicating clarity, good, bad, or indifferent. As long as the communication is there and everybody's on the same page, we will always find a way to make it right. But we got to continue working on that, and that's an aspect of when you got young players up front. So you want to make sure you're continuing that continuity and building that chemistry so guys would know exactly what to do and how to handle those situations once the season kicks off.
Andy mentioned yesterday that McCole had to step in at the last moment in the Tyreek Hill role, and there were some miscommunications that went into that. Just how challenging is it at the last minute to switch mentally right into everything that he does?
You know what? It happens, but the thing is when it's all said and done with, we expect all of our players to perform at a certain level. Now, when it's all said and done with, Patton and McCole, they will always find a way to work through everything. I know we wasn't quite where we needed to be, but when it's all said and done with, those guys found a way to make it happen together. And that's the beauty of training camp. That's the beauty of having the preseason, because just like we discussed, life happens. So now what are we going to do when presented with those situations, and how are we going to handle it? So I'm glad that situation happened because now we can turn that into a positive moving forward.
And following up on that, obviously, I would assume that your receivers, they are responsible for knowing each position.
Oh, yeah.
Play, slot,
Oh, yeah.
but to that point, how many tight ends are you looking to keep? And do you think Jordan Fortson has blocking been for you this preseason?
You know what? I'm satisfied and I'm pleased with what the tight ends have done. Those guys have done a great job. Now, when it's all said and done with, as far as the numbers are concerned, obviously Coach Reed, Brett Veach, our GM, they're going to sit down and have that discussion. When it's all said and done with, I don't want to release anybody, and that's the tough part about being in this position because not only do you get attached to the player because we spend so much time with them, but also you get attached to the person. There's relationships that are developed here. And so it's hard watching those guys leave. But I understand that the profession that we chose and those tough decisions have to be made. But when it's all said and done with, I want to keep everyone because everyone in this building can give us the opportunity to pursue our goals.
When you talk about how you coach your backups to be starters, those are the second and third string and obviously won't make the team. What have you seen from those players that they were to put on film for another team?
I've seen our guys step up and do some things that are very impressive. Obviously, with those guys having an opportunity to drive the length of the field the last 2 games or so, to put in some productive play time, but also put us in position to make sure we either winning the game or securing the win. That's been very satisfying, and I can't complain. Our coaching staff is doing a heck of a job with those guys. But on top of that, the players are stepping up to the plate and making things happen when called upon. And those are the things that you get excited about when you're teaching and coaching. You want to see these players respond in those heated moments.
Jerick McKinnon, obviously you watched some video of him before he got here, but you learn anything about him and being around him for a few weeks now?
Oh yeah, learned a lot about Jerick. In fact, I remember Jerick when he came out of college, and we spent a lot of time with him at the combine, and he was one of those players that did everything. I think he played a little option quarterback, he played running back, he played defensive back. So we've had him on our radar for a while, but he's a savvy veteran that's just very good at a lot of things, and that's the thing that makes him valuable. Okay, because he brings a tremendous amount of experience. On top of that, he's a heck of a football player that happens to play the running back position. And so those are the things that are intriguing. We love what he's bringing to the table. We love how he works in the classroom. But on top of that, what he's doing out there on the field as well.
Eric, what's that fight like between some of those receivers that are kind of the friends like Maurice Fountain, Marcus Kemp, and Jody Fortson, players like that, and the back and forth you had with Dave Told, and I really like these guys, I want to keep them, but I know effort on the field is one thing, but just how competitive is that knowing that they're kind of at that fringe?
Oh, there's always a fight. But one thing that we express to all these guys, and one thing when I talk to these young guys, as far as rookies and players that are trying to make our roster, I always remind them there's an imaginary sign outside that door. That imaginary sign says hiring all applicants. And I remind them every single day that you're in this building, make sure that you're interviewing for a job. And so if you're interviewing for a job, guess what? All right. If you're good enough, you're going to make it. On top of that, if you put the right stuff on tape, guess what? You'll have an opportunity to make it somewhere else.
I want to ask you about Creed. We're talking to him a little bit later. I think it's almost funny for a rookie. So we've seen him in with the first team, getting a lot of work with them. What have you seen from him, from a young player, that gives you that confidence that he can step in?
You know what? Creed is a unique individual that plays hard. He does a heck of a job of making things happen. And on top of that, he can run in space. So I love what Creed brings to the table. I like the fact that him and Pat are developing their chemistry. They're doing a lot of communicating. And the thing about it, he's doing a great job of making sure that he's getting the proper information to the O-line. And that's one of the most stressful things about being an offensive center in this business is making the right calls. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done with, we just want him to make a call. Just be verbal with everything. But as far as Creed as a player and as a person, he's very energized when he's out on that field. He does not like making mistakes. And the only thing he wants to do is make sure that he's doing it the right way.
Well, we talked about numbers. Obviously, Donald Thompson start training camp off within the COVID protocol. What have you seen from them over the last two ball games? Obviously, it's a numbers game, so we don't know how many running backs you're going to keep, but going into Friday's game, what are you hoping more to see from them as well?
Well, first of all, Darwin's been playing his tail off. We expected Darwin to be exactly where he is. He's a tough, competitive football player that doesn't take anything for granted. He understands what it means to play on special teams, and he understands that if he is going to be on this team, that's a very important role. But he also understands the importance of when he has an opportunity to make the very most of it. You know, it's time for him to go out there and produce. I think he's done a heck of a job with that the past few weeks. The only thing I've told him is just keep your feet on the ground, man. Stop jumping. Stop jumping. He might knock himself out landing on his head.
I was just gonna ask you, when you roll through the tape, I mean, does he get bonus points for trying these hurdles, or is it something that you feel like you're not gonna really coach that out on because it is part of his?
Well, I'm hoping we can coach it out of him because the last thing I want him to do, and like I told him, this sound bad coming from a short guy myself. Okay, he's the shortest guy on the football field. There shouldn't be any way that they should be able to get underneath your pad level if you drop your shoulder on them. So don't worry about jumping. You're exposing yourself, and then you can lose control. So, but I will say this: Darwin is a hell of a competitor. He plays hard, he plays fast, and he loves what he does. He loves the game.
Reese Fountain's a guy that came back from his ankle injury, shows up in May for just a tryout, and it seems like he's done nothing but make plays since. I saw him make a one-handed grab yesterday. What has he really shown you, since he got here?
You know what? Maurice is just what we've just discussed. He's one of those kids that does not want to take anything for granted. The only thing Maurice wants to know is what can he do better? And the biggest thing that Coach Joe Blameyer, myself, Coach Reed have all talked to him about, just making sure that he can fine tune three little aspects of his game each and every day. The kid works hard. On top of that, he's a smart player. And then obviously, you've seen the fruits of his labor because what he's done in practice is showing up on game day. And we see it each and every day. And it's because he's invested in himself, but also invested in that playbook. And then when it has an opportunity to make that play, he just goes up and makes it. But the kid is a great kid, proud of the things that he's done so far, and we're just going to keep evaluating it.
I want to ask you about, looking at last year,
Mhm.
the way it ended, with the Bucks, they tried to be physical, take away what you got to do well, the deep ball. Have you seen that so far in preseason? And, what's going to be the personality of the team going into this?
Well, we're seeing obviously teams always study the team that has success against you. So we're expecting that. And on top of that, one thing that we just have to prove is that we have the patience to drive the length of the field. So obviously we've changed the line of scrimmage with the people that we brought in. Uh, we're expecting to run the ball a little bit more, obviously, but also too, we're just telling our quarterbacks take what is given. Okay, be patient. They want to play everything from the back end, no problem. Let's make sure we're taking everything underneath. Now we can catch and get north and south. We got some dynamic football players on our team who can make things happen when that ball is in their hands. We, as a staff, just got to understand sometimes it's okay to drive 16 plays and score a touchdown. But I do also understand that we love scoring in a two-play drive as well. But we just got to be patient, poised, and just make sure that we can sustain drives, but more importantly, finish them.
But is that going to be, is that a point of emphasis going into the season?
Well, yes, I mean, obviously it is because one thing that makes a great passing game is a run game. You know what I mean? And so they both complement each other. And so obviously, yes, we would love to run the ball efficiently and more effectively. But also, too, when throwing the ball, we just got to make sure that we're poised and that we take what is given.
The 53-minute cut down is such a numbers game, considering how last season ended. Just how much consideration is there to maybe keeping an extra offensive lineman, making sure you guys have 5 players worth of depth if something were to happen?
You know what? And I'll sit here and I'll say this. Right now, that's the furthest thing from my mind because I'm going to leave those discussions up to Coach Reed and Veach. Let them handle that. I'm going to coach these guys up and make sure that they're ready to play, in this preseason game. That way they can be at their best when their best is expected. Okay? You guys, I'm sorry.
I just want to clarify what you just said. You said run the ball more efficiently, more effectively. Do you also anticipate running it more often?
Well, I mean, if you're running the ball, you expect to run it efficiently and effectively, meaning we're being productive more than anything. So ideally, we consider a slant route as a run itself, but we love what we do and what we're bringing to the table. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, we're going to run the ball X amount of times or we're going to pass the ball X amount of times. We want to do what is best for us, given moment to help us to accomplish the goal. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Y'all take care.
All right, guys. Creed Humphrey, go ahead and fire away, guys.
2 preseason games down, how would you evaluate the offensive line performance?
Mental toughness, things like that wrestling kind of instills in you. So, those are the two main things I'd say that have really helped me a lot.
Of course, you're going to get more comfortable with Patrick as you go along. What are some big things that are tangible that you say, okay, we are really in a good place for the regular season, maybe we didn't have at the beginning of our training camp?
Yeah, I think it just comes with reps. More comfortable you can get with more reps. So that's been the main thing, is just continuing to get reps with each other and making sure we're making the most of it each time we get those reps. So I think we've done a good job, and we're going to keep improving.
I don't know if you had this conversation with Lucas or with Clay, but what would it mean for you if all three of you guys, as rookies, first-year players, do start on opening day, given how you guys were put together this spring?
Yeah, we don't really think about, us rookies are starting. We don't really think of it that way. We're kind of just showing up to work every day and working. We don't really care much about, us being rookies, things like that. We're just going to show up and, do the most of what we can and, continue to improve. So I think that's been a big help for us so far, because we're not really thinking about being rookies too much. We're just here to work and get to work every day.
You said that you don't want to make the same mistake twice. Can you give an example, even if it's sort of something in the weeds, that you feel like you made a mistake once, but the learn from it so far this training?
Yeah, just early on in OTAs, different things would pop up that I'd be able to fix right away, things like that, and it just comes with reps. Each time you rep something, the more comfortable you're going to get with it. So, early on there were a couple of things here and there that could have been fixed better, and that's something I did. I took it to heart, got to work, and did it.
Is there something maybe at OU that you picked up on, maybe a trick or something that prepared you to be in the situation to step right in and play with one?
Yeah, really just the way you study film, things like that. Understanding of schemes, what you're trying to get done with those schemes, different things like that. That's something that I learned at OU that's really helped me a lot.
Andy said that you played really well in space. Andrew has a big reputation on running screen passes. Just why do you think those type of plays where you are able to get out and sort of show your athleticism, why do you think you've been good at that, and how are you to sort of continue to show that?
Yeah, it's all about just doing your job. So whenever my number's called to do things like that, I'm going to go do my job to the best ability that I can, and it's been good so far, and we're going to keep improving on it.
Chance? Thank you, sir.